Noticed this new trend very much lately, but it seems like any place that my husband and I go to eat, that is not at home, that restaurant has a TV. Have you noticed it? I think it must be a new requirement. Serve food, have a TV. And almost without a doubt, those TVs will be turned on to one of three topics: sports, news, and the weather. And depending on where you might choose to eat, you will hear those broadcast in English, Spanish, Chinese, and there's even a place I go where it will be in Russian. Have you ever wondered how the writers of these networks can find 24 hours of stuff to say? The other night, as Paul and I ate at one of our local establishments, the news that was flashing all over the TV, even though we couldn't hear it, was North Korea. Everything was about North Korea and North Korea's leader. In about a 5-minute span, there were at least 10 different people offering their wisdom on the issue of North Korea. My husband happened to say at that point in time, you know, news is no longer about the facts. News has become what someone thinks about the facts. And I said, yeah, you're right, and the problem is we're so hungry for the news that we'll believe whatever's said, opinions or facts. These are things I want to believe about different issues of the world. There's things I'm constantly wondering what's happening about. So I will listen to the stations that I believe will give me what I want to hear. I hope you caught that. I listen to the stations who give me what I think I want to hear. Or I will search the internet and try to read as many different stories as I can, trying to figure out what to believe. Now, I know I'm not the only one that does that. I think we are probably a society that has more and more doubt every day. And so because of that, because we don't trust what's going on, there are now organizations that promise to give you the facts. In other words, after we hear what is the news, we can go to these certain fact-finding organizations and learn what is really true. So my question today is, why is it that Thomas has been somewhat shunned over the years because he couldn't believe that Jesus had risen from the dead? And why is it that doubt, when it comes to faith, is considered a bad thing? I think we have all had moments, or two, when we wondered if what we believed or what we heard people say about faith was really true. There are many of us sitting in this very room today who have individual beliefs concerning God and how God works in our lives. In fact, I would believe I would be correct to say that we have a very wide range of thoughts concerning faith. But I can also tell you that there are many of us sitting here today who have struggled with faith issues, and some who continue to struggle at this very hour. There are some who have absolutely no question about their faith and never have. And there are others who are not quite so sure. The good news for those of us who are not always quite so sure what we believe is that we have a spokesperson. We have Thomas. I think Thomas wanted to believe when he was first told of the resurrection. I think there was nothing out there more that he really, really wanted to believe. But before he could, without a doubt, confess the resurrection to be true, he needed proof. He needed to see for himself, not just what others told him. He needed to see Jesus. Thomas brings the true humanness into the resurrection story. Thomas gives me hope when I become overwhelmed with uncertainty and doubt in my own life. And I'm thankful for a gospel writer who included this as part of the story. Now, when Jesus came back to the room a week later, Thomas was there, and Jesus came to him and said, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." And Thomas, our gospel says, before he ever touched or looked, said, "My Lord and my God." Through his moments of doubt, through the days that he waited to believe the impossible, through his anguish and his grief, he not only was able to believe, but he confesses, he understands far more than anyone had been able to say. For he says, "My Lord and my God." Martha had confessed Jesus as the Son of God, but no one has called upon Jesus as God. Thomas, the one who doubted, never quit searching for the truth. Of course, we are the ones who have not seen either. We stand here over 2,000 years later, daring to believe something that we have not seen. As I told my students the other day, every human being, and I firmly believe this, every human being needs to believe there is something greater than themselves that gives them hope, that fills them with courage, and makes believing the impossible possible. For us that have gathered here today, that something greater is God. Our God has chosen since the beginning of time to give life, to give hope, to give love to us. We have been handed down stories so that we might believe in that love. We've been handed God himself as he chose to become human and live among us. And living among us, he gave life, he brought hope, and he showered love to everyone that ever knew him. You know, we have a lot of hero stories that are out there before us today. And they're such that you would almost want to make God into a hero at times, but our God did not swoop down and get Jesus and take him out of the hatred and out of the death imposed by those who were afraid of such power. God did not cause pain or death to those who plotted his death, nor nailed him to the cross. God did something even better. God took what was evil. God took what was horrendous and created again in the resurrection of Jesus. God refused the power of evil. God said no to death. God created a new reality, a new moment in time, a promise of life, of hope, and of courage to this world. It is a lot to believe. It is so absolutely amazing and incredulous that we can hardly grasp the reality of what God has done. Thomas was trying to deal with it. And when he saw Jesus, he understood. He got it. Every time we come around the water and the bread and the wine, we are given a Thomas moment. Because through the eating and drinking, we are receiving Christ. It is a moment where we touch Jesus and receive the healing power, where we receive the resurrection power of God. Whether you have doubts today about your faith or whether you are certain, know that Christ has indeed overcome the power of evil. Christ is the light of the world that no darkness can ever overcome. Hold on to that light. Take it with you in whatever lies ahead for you. And be confident in the knowledge that God does indeed love you, and that wherever you may go, God goes with you. Amen.